It's the Arch Advocate Show, the funniest, most number one-iest podcast in the world. Here's a joke for you. Who used to suck at football but now sells shoes? Was it Al Bundy or Colin Kaepernick? That's right. We're going to be talking about Colin Kaepernick today. And if you're watching on YouTube, this is the show, my friend. It's just my face in this camera talking for, I don't know, an hour or whatever. Welcome back to all of you. Thank you for hitting subscribe, hitting share. It's really the subscribe button that's the big one. But hey, if you see it on Facebook, if you see it on Twitter, just go ahead and hit retweet, share, leave a comment. If you're listening on iTunes, please do leave a review. That helps a lot. Colin Kaepernick. Now, I was, my wife is from the foreign peoples. And, foreign people, they don't really understand American football, really. They have soccer, and they call it football. That's what football is to those people. American football doesn't really get into their brains, and so this morning, I had to give a breakdown of this nonsense going on with Colin Kaepernick, and I really found myself in a weird position, thinking to myself, like, what it must be like for my wife to hear this boring, stupid explanation that I was giving her. You know, it was like I was really, as I was talking, I was like, man, Pete, shut up. This is so stupid, right? But let me, I want to talk about this because there's economics to what's happening with Colin Kaepernick right now. And I want to, I'll tell you what, I'll cut right to the chase. If you are so inclined, you may want to consider going short on Nike stock. They're about to take a hit. Now let me qualify that statement, right? Let's go back, what is it, about a year and a half ago, a year or so ago. No, I guess it was a year ago, right? Because now it's football season. That happened last season. Colin Kaepernick decides that he's going to stand up. He's going to stand in the gap for all these black folks that evidently are just getting executed by the cops, right? What he's going to do to bring attention to the fact the cops are out there just slaying black folk, just left and right, willy-nilly, like it's just open season on colored folk, right? So he takes a stand. What's he going to do? He's going to take a knee while the national anthem is being played. Because he's going to say, I don't like the way America's going. I don't like this country. This country kills black people, man, and I have to bring attention to it, right? Now, I'm all for free speech and everything that it entails, which one of those things that's in free speech is the right to protest. I am all for that. I'm all for it. You know what else I'm all for is the consequences of that, right? When you protest, then you are telling the public, you're not actually like if you're picketing your boss, you're not exactly just picketing your boss. You're picketing so that other people can see you picketing, so that attention can be brought to this horrible problem that you perceive, be it real or imagined, right? You want other people to see you so that they can join you and be like, okay, there's an injustice going on here. I want to be a part of solving an injustice. And what is the injustice here that Colin Kaepernick is bringing attention to? Yeah, it's just open season on black folk. All right, the cops are just bang, 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 killing black folks left and right. The problem with that is that when you draw attention to yourself like that, in an educated world that has internet access, there's going to be a large segment of people that are going to start doing some research, right? Like, you remember what, 2-3 years ago, it was all the buzz on social media, like women are getting paid 76 cents on the dollar for what men make, right? The statistics show it, and they showed us the statistics. Sure enough, yep. Women were making less money, like a woman at retirement age versus a man at retirement age, whatever that is, 65 years old. You take how much money the woman and the man made, sure enough, it was about 25% less, right? Somewhere in that neighborhood. But then people started saying, well, why is this happening, since it is that we have laws that prevent this very thing from happening? Why is there not more lawsuits? If you're claiming that a law has been broken, let's dive into that, because in a nation full of laws, right? A nation of law, we can't have that. And people started looking into it, and they started realizing, like, oh, well, that's because women tend to be more interested in people, and men tend to be more interested in things. And so men are more likely to go on and become engineers, whereas women are more likely to go on and become, teachers. You know what I mean? Like, you start, and so forth. Like, it went on and on and on. And then, lo and behold, the worst thing that could have happened for the left is that another fact emerged. That when women engage in the STEM fields, as far as their education goes, and they go into, computer engineering and medicine and, these sorts of things, that they actually are making a considerable amount of money more than their male counterparts. And then all of a sudden, that argument just went away. Right? Facts. You know what I mean? It's like just shoving food inside the face of somebody who's talking too much. It's just like, here, eat this fact. Now shut up. Right? And that argument went away. There are still some of the devoted, they're kind of like the Jehovah's Witnesses of, social justice. Like they're the diehards, and they'll say, well, the reason why women want to become teachers is because of the patriarchy, man. It's like, oh, okay. You're going to go off into crazy town land? You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to, that argument's over. And the only people that are still banging on that drum are like, they're the equivalent of the Jehovah's Witnesses. They're people that are like, yeah, I know Jesus was supposed to come back in 1891 or whatever, but the fact that it doesn't happen doesn't dissuade me. I'm still a true believer. Right? This is what's going on with Colin Kaepernick. It's like, okay, so you brought attention to the fact that there's black people being shot by cops. That is murder, number one, and we can't have that in a nation of laws. So let's look at the numbers. Well, how many black people are getting killed by cops? And then it turns out that more black people get struck by lightning every year than get shot by police officers. Right? And then it turns out that a whole bunch of white people are also being shot by police officers. And then it turns out that the police, the people that were shot, the black people that were shot by police officers, had a history of violent crime, that they were armed at the time that they were shot. Like, a whole bunch of new facts came in, and everybody was like, oh, okay. But the thing about, because keep in mind, we're going to bring this back around to Nike stock. We're going to bring this back to the money. So bear with me, because this is going to get awesome. All right. Now, one of the things about sports in America, right? When I say the American pastime, what do you think of? That's right, baseball. The American pastime. Why would they call it the American pastime? What is a pastime? It's a thing that you do to pass time, to get through it, to separate, right? People used to go to baseball games or watch baseball because it was 3 hours of just like, I'm not thinking about politics, I'm not thinking about religion, I'm not thinking about my overwhelming responsibilities, the fact that, I'm a middle-aged man, and I've got 3 kids, and I still don't know who I am yet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to take 3 hours, and, back in the 40s or whatever, or 30s, like, I'm going to go pay a nickel, and I'm going to go watch Joe DiMaggio play baseball for 3 hours, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Pastime. The American pastime. That's what sports is. It's an escape. That very, very often involves alcohol, but, which is also an escape. But sports itself is an escape. It's a way to just get away, right? Like a staycation. Like we used to be able to, I know this is true in my life, probably most of you. So I wake up in the morning and I would turn on TV to Sports Center. Then I'd start making my breakfast. I'd put my coffee on, break out some eggs, the bowl, so I can crack the eggs into it. You know what I mean? Like I'd start doing stuff. But in the background was ESPN Sports Center, which was on a loop, right? You get, what was it, 2 hours of Sports Center, and every 2 hours it would just start over again, the exact same program. And on Fridays, they would have, you know, the not so greatest plays of the week. Remember that? It was awesome. Like ESPN was a place where we could go in the morning when there was no sports on, and we could watch Sports Center. We could just have that little escape where we could listen to, you know, different points of view on different sports aspects and whatever. And it was like, you know, that was our thing. It was a way to get away from all of those things. And so when we tuned into football, which I loved. My whole life I've loved football. Notice I'm using the past tense, right? We would turn on a football game to get away, and then all of a sudden, here is some guy throwing politics into our face in our place of escape. So again, I am all for the right to protest, Colin Kaepernick. As a matter of fact, I swore an oath to protect and make sure that you have it. But just keep in mind, you have now encroached on my territory. This is the place where I have come to get away from all of these things. Now, if you have a protest that you truly believe that I need to pay attention to and devote myself to fixing, fair enough, I'll hear what you have to say. But just keep in mind, I have the internet. I have Google as well, and I can study these facts, and I can come up with my own opinion on the matter. And what was his big beef? Cops are just out there slaying black folks. And what did they say about Colin Kaepernick? Oh, he's Rosa Parks. And this is one of the things that I was explaining to my wife, is that I had to then explain to my wife who Rosa Parks was. Right? My wife's never heard of Rosa Parks. So let me just explain this to you. Here is this guy who, you know, had a mediocre career as a quarterback, playing for the 49ers, and then he got moved around a few times, and he never really, you know, he was never very good, right? He was great in college, whatever. He was pretty good his first year. But when you are a quarterback, you get millions of dollars, millions and millions and millions of dollars, and fame and love from your community, right? You get it all. You're put the quarterback position, man. There's only 32 of them, you know, starting quarterback. Is it 32 or is it 34? Anyways, there's not very many of them, and he was one of that very small fraternity. He got millions of dollars and cameras put on him and whatever. Now, the thing about Rosa Parks is this, all right? In the 1960s, there was no cell phone technology, right? There were 3 television channels, if that. ABC, NBC, and CBS. There was no cell phones. There was certainly no internet, right? Back then, the internet was called the newspaper. Right? Back then, there was no such thing as a 24-hour news cycle. The news came on at, 6 p.m. and it ran until 7, and that was it. And if you wanted to know what else was going on in the world, you had to wait till tomorrow. You could pick up your local newspaper. There was no mass media. Television was a brand new thing, and it was awful, right? But here's Rosa Parks, this black lady down south who was a nurse. And this was back before nurses made $80,000 a year. Back then, nurses got paid crap, particularly black nurses, because remember, the civil rights thing, it hadn't happened yet. It was going on, but it was not finished yet. So you could tell a black person, you can't eat at this restaurant, you can't drink from this fountain, you know what I mean? And we're not going to pay you as much as your white counterpart, and it was totally legal. So Rosa Parks was this black lady who was poor, right? Made very little money, but, you know, she worked hard and she worked honestly. She was a nurse, and she'd been on her feet all day. I think 10 hours or 12 hours or something like that. And she goes and she gets on a bus with her no money and with her very bleak hopes for the future. Right? There was no wanting to be like Beyonce in Rosa Parks' mind, or Aretha Franklin, or Michael Jackson. There was none of that for her. The only thing in her life that was going on was work and then going home. And she just got off of her shift. She got on a bus. She was exhausted. She sat down on that bus, and the bus moved on, and it got filled up. And then some white guy got on the bus, or white lady, or whatever. And the law of the land was, if you're black, you have to stand up and give up your seat for the white person. It's crazy, right? Like, it's weird to think that that actually happened. And not only did it happened just a few years before all of us were born. It wasn't terribly long ago. Like, your parents were alive and cognizant when that was going on. It was not a long time ago. Right? It's crazy to think of that, isn't it? But Rosa Parks said to herself, I'm tired. And this is a bullshit law. And I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm tired, man. I just got off work. You stand your white ass up. Right? And she knew that the cops were going to be on their way. And she knew that she would be charged. And she knew that she had no money for legal services. Right? And there was no social media to get her story out there. There was no television camera trucks. Right? There was no mobile television cameras. You know what I mean? Moving around television cameras back then was a huge deal. There was no hope for her that somehow her face would be plastered all over, Twitter and Facebook and CNN. There was none of that then. When she made her stand, she knew that she was breaking the law, a bullshit law for sure, but she knew that she was breaking a law and that she did not have the resources to fight. But she made her stand nonetheless. Because of that, and a large confluence of other events, like the fact that there was already a civil rights, not war, but battle in progress. There were men like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X was out there, and there was, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, and you know what I mean? There was a lot of people involved in the civil rights movements. Some of those people turned into, the last, race baiters like Al Sharpton. But that's a different point. It was because of those other things that Rosa Parks' life was spared, because a whole bunch of other people came to her rescue. But how that happened is it's miraculous. There was no social media. She didn't have millions of dollars and an already established fame. She was just a poor black woman on a bus who decided to make a stand. That was all there was to it. And so when this guy, Colin Kaepernick, decides that he's going to disrespect the national anthem to bring attention to himself, and people liken him to Rosa Parks, that is disgusting. There was no possibility that Colin Kaepernick was going to be arrested for taking a knee. There was no possibility that he was going to have legal expenses that he himself could not afford. There was Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, da-da-da. He's not Rosa Parks. It's not the same thing, and people knew it. This is why I love capitalism, right? This is capitalism, man, it cures a lot of diseases, literally and figuratively, right? You have the right, Colin Kaepernick, you have the right to protest all you want. But we also have the right to review your protest and just decide whatever it is that we're going to decide. And capitalism has spoken. The NFL numbers are way down. Profits are way down. Now keep in mind, every one of those players on each one of those football teams, they're all contracted. Those teams, the NFL owes those people that money. Right? They owe them that money. But if all of a sudden ticket sales goes down, viewership on television goes down, and therefore advertisers no longer want to pay what it was that they had gotten accustomed to paying for advertising time, that's money lost, that's revenue lost to the NFL and to the individual teams. And it trickles all the way down to the players who are locked into contracts. The facts are these, that the NFL has been hemorrhaging money over this very issue. Because people looked into it and they said, no, actually over 90% of all black people who are murdered whatsoever in this country are murdered by black people. And that black people are more likely to be struck by lightning than to be killed or shot by a police officer. Hit by lightning, literally. And when people review those facts, just like they did with the Me Too movement and the women, the pay gap, the supposed pay gap, like people look into things. People are not as dumb as I think the news would have you believe. People are actually pretty inquisitive. They're curious about things. Oh, women are making less money than men? I better look into this. And then people start looking into it. And then facts come up. And it's like, oh, these facts are telling me you're full of shit. Colin Kaepernick, hey, those facts, they're saying that you're full of shit. Right? Now, what does this have to do with Nike? This is the beautiful thing. We already know that the NFL is losing money because of their stance on going SJW. We're going to turn on the virtue signal and then everybody will love us. It's the same mistake ESPN made. The exact same mistake ESPN made. When you turn on ESPN now, you get a bunch of political stuff. You get a bunch of black versus white stuff. You get Colin Kaepernick getting airtime and J.J. Watt, who's raised tens of millions of dollars, for hurricane relief, survivors. He doesn't get on the news, and people see that. They see the absence of a guy who actually raised a lot of money for a good cause. And then they turn on ESPN and they see Colin Kaepernick. It's like, Colin Kaepernick, what have you lost? What this sacrifice that everybody keeps telling me that you're this great sacrificial lamb, what sacrifice have you made? You were a shitty quarterback to begin with. You're lucky to even have a job. You're lucky to even be on TV. What have you sacrificed? Money? Is it because of all your legal expenses? Right? Because the police came and arrested you for kneeling during the anthem? Oh, that's right. Right? You're lucky. You're lucky that there's Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, because if it wasn't for those things, you would have been brushed under the rug last year. ESPN made that same mistake, and here's what actually happened. Here's why when you turn on ESPN that you get this black versus white shit. Here's exactly why. ESPN was losing money to begin with, right? They overexpanded, right? They hired a bunch of people. They were paying employees a lot of money. And, because we're still going through this adjustment period with, technology and the fact that there's no more newspapers and there's competition in the market, ESPN was having a hard time making an adjustment. And they were brought this idea for a new marketing campaign. They said, look, these people came into ESPN and they said, look, the thing is that the kids, they're all talking about all of these social justice issues on social media. So we believe that if we start talking about this stuff, this political stuff, the kids will be more engaged with ESPN. And guess what ESPN did? They said, no, we are not going to do that. We understand that sports and sports commentary, this is an escape. This is the Garden of Eden for people. This is where people come to get away from all of that stuff, so we're not going to do it. And that's exactly what happened. But then, after they made that decision to not believe the social media numbers and to not take social media as a barometer of how they were going to navigate their way through their business model, they continued on, but they kept losing money. And they kept paying these exorbitant salaries to their employees and whatever. They just kept hemorrhaging money. So finally, ESPN decided, you know what? We're fresh out of ideas. I guess we're going to have to take this marketing strategy of believing what's going on in social media and believe that if we start talking about politics and making everything a political issue, then people will love us more, and then we could sell our commercial time for more money. That's what actually happened. That's why ESPN is so politicized nowadays. They originally were brought that idea and they said no. Guess what? Now ESPN is losing money faster than they've ever lost money before. People are turning off. They're like, no, I don't want to watch ESPN. If I want to be bothered by the political climate of the day, I'll turn on Fox News or CNN or whatever. But this is where I come to get away from all of that. And now CNN is losing money. The exact same thing is what the NFL did, right? The NFL was losing a little bit of money, right? They were losing a little bit of viewership because there's a lot more competition now with basketball and baseball and the fact that football players were beating up their girlfriends on camera in elevators, and the NFL, what was his name? Adrian Peterson beat his own son, right? And the NFL just gave him a pass, right? Well, people see that and they're turned off by that. And the NFL was losing a little bit of money. And so they asked themselves, like, how do we avoid what's going on at CNN or ESPN? Oh, I know. Let's turn on the virtue signal. That'll do it. Let's side with the people who want to make football this place of escape. Let's make this about politics. So that when I come, when I run away from my life and I try to escape into football land, dun, 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 bum, 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 right? That song used to mean like you're here. Welcome to the 3 hours of the promised land where you don't have to think about anything except for, football moves and football stuff. Dun, 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 dun. Right? No. As soon as we got into that promised land, guess what popped up? Politics and politicians and protesters and SJWs. It's like, shit, man. Now I don't have anywhere to go. Now I'm going to have to turn off my TV and remember how to read books. Thanks a lot, NFL. And that's exactly what happened. That's capitalism. There is a very spiritual component to capitalism. The market speaks. And it is clear. It is clear. The numbers do not lie. The market has spoken about ESPN, and the market has spoken about the NFL, and it all has to do with this exact same problem. Colin Kaepernick. Now, if Colin Kaepernick had last year taken a knee during the national anthem, and then had reporters come over him and say, oh, why did you disrespect the flag? If he would have said at that point, well, it's because, we've got these endless wars, and our young men and women are going off to fight in foreign lands, and they're coming home, and their brains are banged up, and their bodies are torn to shreds, and the American people have failed to hold their politicians accountable when it comes to the care of our returning veterans. You know what? These people died and were dismembered and broken for the sake of that flag. You know what? I'm just not qualified to be standing while the song is played in honor of that flag. I am trying to draw attention to the fact that these men and women fought for that flag, and I will not stand while that song is being played until everybody knows that that flag is not being honored. Had he done that, would have been a very different scenario. Very different. But instead, he protested something that turned out to be false and everybody saw it. You can virtue signal, but you better be damn sure of your facts. You better be able to argue both sides of the point, or you should not be arguing it at all. Had that guy just done a little bit of research, he would have never have done that. But he didn't. No. Instead, he decided to be a victim. I make millions of dollars and the entire city of San Francisco loves me, and I'm on TV all the time. I'm the real victim here. I'm just a poor black child. Remember that? Steve Martin, the jerk? I'm just a poor black child. Right? Because Colin Kaepernick is half black and he was adopted by white parents and he was raised white. I'm just a poor black child. It's like, you son of a bitch, you have tens of millions of dollars and everybody loves you. You're not a victim here. And the market is correcting this situation. The market is. The NFL is bleeding out. It's bleeding out. You've got videos of people who've been lifelong season ticket holders that are making YouTube videos of them burning their season tickets in places like Green Bay. I don't know if you've ever been to Wisconsin, or better yet, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Let me assure you, there is nothing there in Green Bay. It's a tiny little village. All they have is like a couple of industrial things and a football stadium. Those are not rich people. Those are not people that have a whole lot of entertainment options in their lives. I've made this point before. I'm from San Diego. At any point in my life, I could get into a car and drive 2 hours. Any direction, right? 2 hours, I could be in the sand dunes where they filmed Return of the Jedi. Remember the sand? Like, that was filmed 2 hours from where I grew up. And in the wintertime, I could drive in a different direction for 2 hours, and I could go skiing. I could go skiing, and in that same day, like skiing in the snow or snowboarding, and then I could get back into my car, and in that same day, drive 2 hours and go surfing that same day. A lot of entertainment options. Not the case so much in Green Bay, right? Green Bay gets just covered in snow during the winter, and then it's hot and marshy and full of mosquitoes in the summertime. Green Bay Packers lifelong season ticket holders were burning their tickets saying, I'm not watching football anymore. That's a huge statement for somebody like that, where it's like, man, this is all these people have. All they have is their family and their work, which are beautiful. It's a lot, right? They've got their family, they've got their work, and their big expenditure, their big thing is they get to go watch Aaron Rodgers throw the rock around, right? Like, that was their big thing. And those people, right? Capitalism, the free market was causing those people to say, I'm not doing this anymore. This isn't fun for me anymore. Thanks a lot, NFL. Thanks a lot, Roger Goodell. You've taken this beautiful thing away from me. Now I can't watch. And I probably will never come back no matter what you do. Even if you completely correct it and get on TV and bend over and kiss your own ass and apologize to everybody for this horrible thing that you've done, I still probably will not tune back in. Now, what does this have to do with Nike? Let me get into this. Now, in marketing and in advertising, there's what's called market research, right? That's where you go and you try to find the truth of the matter before you commit to it, right? Now, we already have a couple of examples. Nike just paid Colin Kaepernick even more millions of dollars so that they could put his face on their advertisements. And their slogan is here. The slogan, as they put his face on there, is believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. Right? So again, you believed in something that was wrong, and you sacrificed exactly nothing. Colin Kaepernick, you sacrificed nothing. You were on your way out as a football player already. You weren't any good. You were just good enough to get that job to begin with, but you weren't good enough to keep it. Right? Congratulations, you got millions of dollars. You better save some money, because those paychecks they're gonna shore up here pretty quick. Now here's Nike. Market research. Let me get into this. Now we have a couple of precedents. We have a couple of benchmarks that we can look to and say, well, has this worked in the past? Right? What do we have? Dick's Sporting Goods. Remember that? About a year ago? Dick's Sporting Goods came out and they said, look, we sell soccer balls and camping equipment and fishing equipment and guns and a bunch of other outdoorsy sorts of things. But given the fact that guns are being used to kill other people, we're going to stop selling these guns. But the thing is, what they did was they got on TV and they virtue signaled. Said, oh, we're good people over here at Dick's Sporting Goods, so we are going to try to end this thing in the human condition by appealing to people who want gun rights taken away by removing this one sort of gun. And what happened to Dick's? They started hemorrhaging money. Why? Right? Why is that? Why did Dick's Sporting Goods start losing money over this one product that they sold that represented maybe 1% of their inventory? Dick's Sporting Goods sells a lot of things. Why did they start hemorrhaging money as soon as they came out and did that? See, here's the thing. If you want to sell something, right, you have to come up with a price that you believe is accessible, right? Nike tennis shoes are not sold for $10,000. Why? Because if they were, nobody would buy them. So we have, what that's called is a price point. There's how much money you think you can extract from the people who you intend to sell your product to. It has to be somewhat affordable to them. You want to make as much money as you can, but you also know that you can't be too big of an asshole about it, right? So when you sell a product, you have to pay as much attention to what you're selling as to who it is you're trying to sell it to, right? When you advertise, you have to advertise to people that you believe have money, right? Like when Toys R Us commercials used to come on, they weren't selling toys to kids. They were selling toys to you because you're the one who has the money. The kids don't have any money, right? So they make a commercial to make it so that your kids will come and annoy you, but ultimately they're advertising to you, right? When you advertise, you have to advertise to the people who have the money, people who work, people who have regular jobs, people who have a budget, right? They know how much money they're going to have. If you're advertising to a bunch of people who don't work, right? Like you don't advertise things to college kids because college kids don't have any money. Their parents do, but those kids don't have any money. There's a reason why you really can't see like a brokerage house commercial, like a Merrill Lynch commercial or a Price Waterhouse commercial or whatever. You can't see those commercials on normal television until you turn on golf. When you watch golf, all of those commercials are financial services commercials, and you don't see those commercials anywhere else. Why? Because they're advertising to people who they think like, well, these people probably have money. Why do I think that? Well, because they're watching golf. They probably have money. They probably live above the mean, right? The average. They probably have income and they probably invest. Therefore, I'm going to take this business over there. So when Dick's Sporting Goods, who sells outdoor equipment, so right off the bat, we know that their target customer is an outdoorsy person. And because they sell soccer balls and baseball bats and tents and sleeping bags and rifles and, these sorts of things, hockey equipment, not only is their target audience like employed, but they have families. Right? These are working people who have families that are looking to do family stuff. And as we all know, people tend to get more conservative the older they get. You come out liberal, right? You come out of your mother's womb a liberal. Everything's free, and therefore everything should be free since everything is free. And you get older and you start learning like, oh, things cost things and I have to work to get those things. You become more conservative as you get older. So Dick's Sporting Goods is selling to people who are in the process of becoming more conservative. You have more kids get older, they have to go to college, you got to support them, you know what I mean? Like, people become more conservative with their assets as they get older. And so what does Dick's Sporting Goods decide that they're going to do? They're going to try to appeal to social justice workers, people who don't play sports, people who don't have jobs, they don't earn money, they don't have responsibilities. These are not athletic people, they are not outdoorsy people, they are not earners. These are not people who are participating in the acquisition stage of their lives, and Dick's Sporting Goods decided that they were going to market to those people. They were going to market themselves to people who don't have any money. That's a bad move. And the free market punished them for that. The NFL did the exact same thing. ESPN did the exact same thing. Why? Because social media said that this is what the kids are talking about, but nobody ever stopped and asked themselves, but do these kids have any money? If we do this, are these kids going to be able to afford a $120 pair of sneakers? Because we're trying to sell commercial space to Nike, and that's what they sell, $120 sneakers. Do these people on social media who keep talking about social justice, do these people have money? Is there a justification for trying to advertise and try to bring those people over here? Like, if we do get these people over to ourselves, do they have money? Because the answer was no. And it's been proven over and over and over again. ESPN, NFL, Dick's Sporting Goods. So let me take it one step further. There's another side to this too, about the free market. We have seen what happened when Chick-fil-A, which makes delicious chicken sandwiches, right? About a year or so ago, they made a big deal about the fact that that is a Christian organization. Actually, I believe the owners are Mormon, but whatever. It's a Christian organization. They do not work on Sunday. And they give money to, Christian sorts of things. When they do their charitable giving, they do it to things that they believe best represent the kingdom of God and His Son, Jesus Christ. And they came under fire for that. And the CNN and all the social justice sites and, Facebook and Twitter, whatever, they all joined in on the attack on Chick-fil-A. And what happened? Now keep in mind, if you are a fast food restaurant owner, you need to be open on Sunday, because there's only 2 days in a week where everybody's off work and nobody's in school, and therefore, the consumption of fast food goes up. Those 2 days are Saturday and Sunday. And Chick-fil-A, from the time that they opened, have forsaken 50% of that weekend money on a continual basis. That's a very risky and ballsy business move, but they did it, and they've figured out how to pull it off. Not only have they pulled it off, but Chick-fil-A pays their people better than, say, McDonald's or Burger King. So not only are they prospering, but they're causing everybody around them to prosper as well. And they came under attack. And guess what happened when they turned on that virtue signal? Hey, virtuous people, Chick-fil-A's bad. Let's get them. Let's boycott these people. And what did the free market do? Chick-fil-A received a windfall of new customers. Floods and rivers of money came into Chick-fil-A. Right? Because they didn't do anything. They were just over there minding their own damn business, making delicious chicken sandwiches. Right? And all of a sudden they came under attack. And what happened? A whole bunch of people like me said, well, you know what? Chick-fil-A is kind of out of my way, but you know what? I think I'm going to make that drive. I think I'm going to go get Chick-fil-A because they're under attack, and I want to show my support. In-N-Out Burger, just in the last week, the exact same thing happened. In-N-Out Burger is also owned by a Christian organization. Now, I know for most of you, you don't have In-N-Out Burger anywhere near you. That's pretty much just a California thing. I like In-N-Out. It's not my favorite, but the burgers are delicious. I have a problem with their fries. There's going to be some people in California who write me and call blasphemy. I don't like In-N-Out Burger fries. It's just not my thing. The burgers, on the other hand, are effing phenomenal. Like, I only go there for the burger and, maybe a Coke. But they came under fire just over the last week too. Boycott, right? Leftists, they decided to throw up the virtue signal and boycott In-N-Out Burger. And now what do we see? Pictures of In-N-Out Burgers with a line that goes all the way down the street. It's a damn country mile. Because when you throw up that virtue signal, everybody can see it. Right? And now In-N-Out Burger is experiencing rivers. Just a watershed of money. Right? This is the environment that we're in right now. This is why I love capitalism. Oh, I love capitalism. I love it. I love the free market. It fixes so many of these problems. Right? I've made a joke before, but I'm serious. It would be such a blessing to me if somebody could please just boycott this podcast. If some leftist could just be like, what we got to do? We got to get rid of the Arch Advocate podcast. My numbers would go through the roof. You know what I mean? I'd be on Easy Street. Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. Yeah, you're sacrificing yourself, jackass. Hey, Nike, you're trying to use this guy to sell shoes to people who don't have any money. To people who don't believe in anything. So therefore, the only thing that you can accomplish by this is turning off people. The people that you're going to turn on by this sort of marketing campaign, Nike, are people who are not going to buy your shoes because they're not athletes. They're not outdoors people. And they don't have jobs, therefore they don't have $120 for you. But you know what will happen? I will no longer ever purchase Nikes. I didn't to begin with. I'm an ASICS guy. But from now on, if my son 10 years from now says, Dad, I need a pair of Nikes, I'll be like, nope. You can have $120, but you may not wear Nikes. You can wear Adidas. You can wear Adidas, brother. Right? You wear Reeboks. You can wear Asics. But you're not going to be wearing Nikes in this house. That's how that works. Congratulations, Nike. You've attracted a bunch of people with no money to yourselves, and you've alienated the people that do have the money. Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. Well, good for you, Nike. You believed in something. You believed in Colin Kaepernick, and now you're going to sacrifice everything. Because Colin Kaepernick made a stand against something that kills less black people every year than lightning. Good for you, Nike. The market, the free market, is going to take care of you. And by take care of you, I mean whoop your arse. And this is the beauty of marketing. This is the beauty of the free market. This is the beauty of capitalism, is that it kicks the ass of assholes like this, just as it has kicked the ass of ESPN. Just as it has kicked the ass of Roger Goodell and the National Football League. Right? I loved football. I'm very sad that I will not be tuning into football anymore. Like it really bums me out. It's like, man, that was so much joy. There was so much joy I would get watching football, drinking beers with my friends, throwing some steaks on the grill, making a day out of it, making my famous guacamole, having chips and dip. It's all over now. I'm either going to have to find another sport, and I'm guessing hockey, or I'm going to have to, I don't know, I guess be a better father. Maybe go buy a football from Cabela's or REI, certainly not Dick's. Maybe I'll have to go buy a football and go outside in the yard, play with my sons for 3 hours instead of watching you. But either way, I'm not watching you. I'm not tuning into your garbage. So that's it. Capitalism, baby. I love capitalism. And if you want to also stand against the up-and-coming boycott of the Arch Advocate Show, you can support the show by going onto archadvocate.com, arch-advocate.com, archadvocate.com. You can go on to that, and you can support this show using capitalism. You can become a PayPal donor guy, whatever. Throw some money on, towards me on PayPal, or if you want to become a monthly supporter, throw a couple of bucks a month. Right? It's nothing. Just for the cost of a Happy Meal, you can support the Arch Advocate Show, right? A couple of bucks a month on Patreon. That's also at my website, arch-advocate.com. I certainly appreciate it. I would rather you give the money to me than give it to the Nike Corporation, who is about to take a pummeling in their stock prices. You watch. Listen, how long should we give it? 3 months? Let's see. Right after Christmas. Let's say at the end of January, when the spending report comes out, let's say at the end of January, I will either be right or wrong on the idea that Nike, and I'll tell you what, let me look at this. Let me just make sure that I put a marker down here. Nike stock. Okay, Nike stock is, it's been pretty flat. Well, actually, let me look at the 1 month. Ooh, it's actually between August 17th and today, it's gone up like $2. Oh, Nike's up from $65 on March 5th to $82 today, or $81.40. So I'm predicting January, when the Christmas money comes, when that report comes out, we're gonna see a dippity dip in Nike stock price. So 82.20 is what it says, 82.20, 81.40, right in there. Let's check my work in January. We'll see. Anyways, support the show, archavocate.com. Thanks, everybody, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.